Hello, everyone. My name is Joti Gautam, and I'm really grateful to have this opportunity to present at the Tableau Fringe Festival. While I'm recording this video, I am still like I'm already missing the festival, but yeah, no worries. I'll catch up on all the sessions while when I will be available. Without further ado, first let me introduce myself. I'm sure the host will have done that, but yeah, let me give you a brief. So, I am a Tableau Public Ambassador, and this is the second year for which I am selected as an ambassador. And I'm really grateful to the DataFam community for this opportunity. And I'm working as a BI specialist at JLL. It's a great company to work with, and I'm using Tableau from the last 6 years, and I am in love with it. I use it daily. This is the one tool which I use daily in my professional life, and while I'm not working on anything for the office job. Then also I'm using it in terms of Tableau Public. So in 2020, I started using Tableau Public when we were all locked up in our houses because of the COVID thing. And I started using it because I wanted to improve in the area of data visualization, and it really helped me. Like, if I compare my work then and now, there's a big difference, and there is a huge contribution of Tableau Public into that. The journey started then, and it is still going on. And I want to say like this thing very confirming that I'm really grateful to the Data Fam for this, for being with me and for helping me out if I was stuck, or for encouraging me and patting on my back when I did something good. So yeah, that's all the love which we get from the community, Tableau community, which we have. And last thing, I love experimenting with the visual designs in terms of colors, or be it in terms of the overall layout of the visualization. There are numerous ways in which we can present the data insights to the stakeholders, to the to the to the viewers audience. So yeah, I love experimenting with that thing, and some things work, some things don't work. So don't get discouraged if something doesn't work. Just do it. It's the way to move ahead. So without further ado, let's dive into the topic. So today's topic is great Vizzes, great value. So it is mainly that I'm going to tackle a question which comes to everybody. Like, a person prepares a dashboard, business dashboard, based on the requirement or anything, but are the stakeholders, are the clients going to connect with that dashboard? Is it going to bring some ROI? Is it going to be of value to the person for which we have prepared it? So how we can bring that impact, we are going to talk about that. So yeah, but there is one factor which is very important when we are doing that, which is the storytelling thing, which we are going to focus today on in this one. So in the business settings, it becomes very difficult to incorporate a data story in our dashboards. But there are different ways through which we can do that, and we'll talk about that. Now, before we go into that thing, let me tell you a story. Like, we used to listen to the bedtime stories from our grandmas, from our parents as well. And I used to like wait for that time of the day, or the night, to listen to those. I don't want you to sleep, obviously, but yes, let me tell you a story. So there was a girl named Jillian, and she was not performing well in her academics. She was underperforming in her tests. She was not meeting the assignment deadlines. She used to be very quiet. The parents and the other teachers were very worried. They tried different methods, but at the last, they were like, let's go for a psychological assessment to know if she needs some special care, some special help. So the kid and the mother both go to a psychologist. When they are sitting in the cabin of the psychologist, the doctor comes in. He talked to the mother. Uh, he's like talking about the case, and then he asks her that I need to talk to you in private for this case. So they both go out, but before going out, what the doctor says is like, there is a radio on the table of the doctor, and he's turn it on. Now there is a beautiful song which is playing on the radio. They both are out of the room, and they both are watching from the window. So suddenly the kid started dancing. So that was very shocking because the Jillian is playing, she's dancing, she's laughing, she's all smiles. So the doctor said to the mother that there is nothing wrong with your daughter. She's perfectly okay. It's just that she wants to dance. So her mother put her in the dance classes. Now she's becoming better at everything. She practiced dance at school, then she practiced at home as well. After a few years, she's also admitted to a dance school. So everything goes well. Now, I told you a story, a story with a good ending. Now, this is a story where it shows that how uh, when the society allows the person to be himself or herself, like Jillian was allowed to be herself, how that thing brings joy in that person's life. So it's about that. It's a nice story, isn't it? So why did I tell you this story? So the point is that I have told you this story now, after 2 days, if I meet one of you, like face to face, I hope that happens. So yeah, if I meet one of you one on one, and I ask you, oh, I told you a story about a girl named Jillian who loved dancing, you'll quickly remember this story. So the point I want to say is that stories have a great impact on human mind. It's a kind of a neuro setting where our mind is trained to listen to the stories. So based on that, let's see a proverb which says that tell me a fact and I'll learn. Tell me a truth and I'll believe. But tell me a story and it will live in my heart forever. So this is the strong impact of stories on human brains. There is a connection which we feel with the stories, and it helps us to remember that. And in business setting, what we want is we want to narrate a story which has impact on the stakeholder, and there is a call to action, like to call to action on the insights we have presented so that we derive the business value through our dashboards. So yeah, so that's that. And we have talked about a normal story. I told you a story. Good, good. But we are talking about data. Our profession revolves around data. So let's talk about data story. So what is a data story? Now, I'll say that a data story, if there's a dashboard and there are a number of charts, you put those in the dashboard and present it to the stakeholder, they are not able to connect with that data story because there is no data story actually. A data story happens when there are certain things which are required to be in data story are there. Now let's talk about the things which are required to be in a data story for it to be a story which has an impact. So So these are the five things which I think comprise or come together to form a story. So first of all, there needs to be a time or a place marker. Like when we start generally a story, we say that at this time, like in 1899, this happened in the southern region of India. This. So the time or the place markers when you think of these things, they connect people with the story. They are more intrigued by these things that they are about to listen to a story. And then there is a sequence of events, like something is happening, something unusual is happening, some series of events are happening. So that's in a story. And then there's emotion. So emotion in the sense that the person who is listening to the story is able to connect emotionally as well. And then there is a conclusion, there is a climax of the story. It can be good, it can be sad, it can be um, happy ending. And there needs to be a relevant statement, like how that thing is related to the person to whom we are showing that story. Now if we talk about the business setting, we can say, let's take an example of sales. So we can say that in 1990 the sales were up by 50%, but after one decade, in 2000, the sales are down by 40%, or anything like that. So we are having a time marker, we are having an event happening with respect to sales. And similarly, we can have another parameters like the profit went up by 4 million, or we can say there was a loss in 2000 by 20%. So these are the sequence of events. Now the conclusion is that In 1990, the organization was going up, but in 2000 decade, because of some of the loss which happened, our company is going down in the ranking. Our yearly results are not good. So this is the conclusion. And then there are emotions. Emotions are like, when the company was performing well, there was increment which was given to everybody, or there used to be more hirings in the company. So these are the things. And relevant statement is that you are telling this story to the CEO of the organization. He will have the relevance to this thing. And then you are telling this to the marketing team. They will have a relevance. So these are the things which comprise in a story. And there's a beautiful thing written down there that a good story grabs your attention, takes you on a journey, and there's an emotional response. And in the middle of it, you find yourself not wanting to turn away or put it down. You start a story and then you want to listen it completely. In such a way, it grabs your attention. So these are the things which are needed in a story. And when we put the data stories together, so I told you about these things, but is it possible for you to have these things together at a time? Like, we need some kind of structure, right? So when we put the stories with data through story structure, then they make a good uh, visualization or the dashboard in the business setting. So to do that, we need to map the data to and the data visualizations together through some story structures. So we'll talk about some of the story structures now, which we can incorporate in our dashboards in the business setting. Um, but before that, let's see what is a good story. You want to see an example in the data, which is a good story. So let's talk about a very known example. I'm sure you all must be knowing this. There was a cholera break visualization map, which was created by John Snow in London. So John Snow was a doctor in 1850s, and in that time there used to be a cholera break in like 4 to 5 years, and he used to take 10,000 or 20,000 lives, and it was very devastating. And everybody was in the mindset that there is a poisonous gas in the air which is causing this, but actually John Snow had a different idea. He affirmed that there is some kind of waterborne disease which is causing this. He wrote a blog about it, but nobody paid attention. But in 1854, there was a little 5-year-old girl who got it, she got it in the Broad Street, London. And then after that, there was an outbreak in that area, which took like 10% of the population of that area. Now, John Snow used to live in that area, like neighborhood. He, along with the local priest, took a map of the area and started plotting like the areas where there are the number of deaths. And then he also plotted the location of hand pumps which are being used in that area. So surprisingly, the hand pump was in the Broad Street, it was the most used one, and there were a lot of deaths around that, while there were not many deaths around the areas where the other water pumps were. So he concluded this thing, he presented it to the government and the governing parties. And when the next outbreak happened, they tracked down this theory, and they were able to change the course of it and finally relieve people from this disease. So yeah, this is a great example where the storytelling and data visualization skills had an had a huge impact in on the society. So I took it as an example which encourages me to make better and better visualizations and keep practicing them so that they can have a good impact. um, Now, let's talk about a story structure, Freytag's pyramid. Now, this is also called inverse triangle, mountain structure. There are different names given to it. And what happens in a Freytag's pyramid is that there is a first thing, exposition, which means that, these are the steps which are in the Freytag's pyramid, which we need to follow in a story. And exposition is the setting of the environment, like what thing is what we show in a story. That's called exposition. And then there is an unusual event, the initial incident, which then give rise to the other incidents alongside. So that's in the rising action. And then we come to the climax, which is like there was a sequence of events, there was something happening, and this is the result of that thing. And then there is a falling action, like we do some things which can prevent that. And there is like uh, lower steep in the number of actions happening, and then suddenly there is a resolution to that with the help of the falling action. Now these all things are like the parts of Freytag's pyramid. But if you want to understand it from the business setting perspective, you can say that suppose your product or your project or business is facing any trouble, is having a hurdle, you can use this theory to explain your things, which can have a connection to the stakeholder. Like you can first set up the environment, tell the initial incident, tell the further incidents which followed that incident, what was the conclusion of that, how you handled that situation, and then what was the ultimate resolution to that thing. So all these things help us to convey a story, and the same can be incorporated into the visualizations in the way we present our data insights to the stakeholders. So this is one story structure, but let's take a pause and think about it, that can our every dashboard have this kind of a thing? Can every dashboard have a story? Can every dashboard have a falling action? Because sometimes we are presenting insights to call for the call for action. Like I have a setting, I have initial incident, I have rising action, I have the climax, but I don't have a falling action, I don't have a resolution yet because I'm calling for the action from the stakeholders. So we can't say that is a data story, and that is true. We can't say it a data story, but John Scobbish wrote a series of blogs which I really liked. Like I was truly impressed and inspired by them. In that, he's saying that we need to be very mindful that where we are using the word data story, our every visualization cannot have a data story. That is a fact. But there are some other things through which we can categorize our visualizations. One is the annotation, one is the narration, and then there is a data story, which is an actual story, which we earlier talked about, like Freytag's pyramid principles show that thing. So, what is annotation actually? So I will describe annotation with an example. This is by Alberto Caro. This is a very good looking and amazing example of annotation. So what's happening here is that we have the charts which are showing how Britons spend their time, like weekends in the orange and weekdays in the bluish color. So they are showing like different things, like how much time is spent in sleep, how much time is spent in TV videos, how much time is spent in paid work. So here we are using annotations, if you see clearly those annotations are helping to explain the charts better, for person to relate, for the person to interact with the visualization if it is an interactive one. So this is one kind of visualizations which are generally available in the data visualization world. So it's not that if a visualization does not have a data story, it's not a good visualization. We can have an annotated visualization as well. So this is one thing. And after that there is a narration is when like we talked in the Freytag's principle, that we don't have a falling action or a resolution yet, but yes, we want to describe the cause and the effect. So narration is when we guide the reader through the visualization for as a sequence. Like if I give you an example, there are long form Vizzes which are very much in trend, I would say, but they're really good. So what's happening in the long form visualizations, like 70% of the time, is that there is a sequence of events going on, and the person who is watching that visualization is taken through that thing. So that way we are taking the person through that thing. So that's called the narration. There is a cause and there is an effect, and we are calling for the action. And the same thing can be in the business setting as well. We are guiding the reader through our visualization as a sequence. Now, when we are talking about narration, so let's talk about how we can guide the reader through a visualization. So there are some principles which can be followed to guide the user better. Like uh, in a way, it is a kind of a user experience which we are improvising in our visualizations. So There are different analytical approaches which are followed in the world of data visualization. So these are to get a story, to get a cause and effect narrative out of the data. Like, so we have some kind of data ready. We have cleaned it. Now we have a clean data. Now we want to get a story out of it, which we right at the moment are calling a narrative. So first thing is change over time. Like, we are seeing some kind of time series data, and there is a sudden change in the trend. We can get a narrative out of that, or there are outliers. So like I have shown here, there is a scatter plot, and we are trying to show the outliers in that, like why there are the outliers, why is it happening. We can show that, or we can show the contrast, like we can compare two data points, two parameters, or any two things which are comparable through data, and we are showing their contrast, how different they are. Like in the previous chart, we were seeing the weekdays and weekends and different sleep, TV, audio parameters. And then there's intersection. Suppose you are using a line chart to show the trajectory, how the GDP of a country is performing. Like what's the GDP of a country? At one point they intersect. There is a point where the GDP of two countries is same, and then one is going downward, one is going upward. That is a kind of a narrative. And then there is the factorization, which is like you are showing the hierarchical structure of something, like how it is divided into different types. So these are all the analytical approaches which are used to get something out of the data, to know the insights out of the data. If one approach is not working, we go to the other, or we go to the another one. So these are kind of things we do, like in data analysis. And so same thing written here, that it can be used to discover the stories which are hidden in the data. We can backtrack, we can try another one if it's giving us a clue of a possible story. If it's not, then try another one. So these are the things. And then like we talked about the narrative or the data story, there are some focus areas once we have the story which we need to follow to convey that story in a better way. And these focus areas are user experience, space usage, functionality application, color selection, and choosing the right visuals. Let's talk about them one by one. So what is user experience? It's like, depending upon the kind of stakeholder or user, we are mending the way we show the visualization or the dashboard, so that the user is able to connect and navigate easily. So in that, when we have one example is like, I always use like help sheets in the workbook to help them, like how to use the dashboard, or what is in the dashboard, which view is showing what, or who is the owner of the dashboard, and whom to reach out if you have a query, how to raise the query. So there can be a lot of options to show that thing. And then you have some calculations in your workbook or a dashboard which you want to summarize, like how you got that calculation done, so that the person knows like what's happening. And you can include information such as which data source you are using, after how much time it is getting refreshed, it is daily, weekly, hourly. So that information you can include. This will really help to improvise the user experience. And then there is space usage. So first is that you need to keep the titles concise, to the point, so that they help the user to navigate, not confuse them. And then if you have a blank space in the dashboard, it's a really good thing. Don't try to overcrowd the views. And it is very good if you want, if you leave the blank spaces. It will really help the person to navigate easily from one place to another, from one chart to another. And you can minimize the distraction. Like, suppose you are doing a visualization where there are green colored borders around all the charts. There's no need. The things which are not needed, try to avoid them as much as you can. And then there is the functionality application. So your dashboard functionality, as I said, should be as per the stakeholder. So it depends upon the data literacy of the person who is using who is going to use the dashboard. So less is always more. Try to keep it not too complex, and increase the complexity if the audience is comfortable with that thing. And that thing can be done by showing them some of the wireframes, by showing them some mock views, which can help like the person navigate. what they want. And then next is choose right visuals. So this one is very important, and there are a lot of examples available on Tableau Public which can help to choose the right visual, like according to the data, which visual is appropriate and which is the one which can be used and helpful in telling people what's happening there. And try to make the simple charts like bar charts, line charts. People most of the time, even if they are not data literate, they are familiar with those kind of things, so try to get those charts in the dashboard as much as you can. Next is the color selection. So in my opinion, this is the most important thing, because this is where things start to happen, like distractions happen. So many of the other key focus areas are dependent on the color selection. So you can standardize the color palettes which you are using in your organization. That can be the color of your organization's logo, or it can be like colorblind friendly palettes as well. That you There are a lot of things available on the internet which you can utilize to design such kind of palette which you can use. And then the most important thing, like in JLL also we do, is that if you are using the good or the standard color palette, it will help to convey the message of the brand, that you are using the standardized palettes, and the person can tell them from the look of the dashboard that this is from JLL or this is from your organization. So yes, these are the things which you can incorporate. Now, final thing is that this is by a very famous author, Indranil. He has said that data which you have can be of significant value, but those values will not be useful if you are not able to uncover the insights, and at the same time you are not able to communicate those insights. So storytelling with data is about communicating the insights which you have, so that you can call for the action for the business results in terms of cost or time savings. So do that. Now, I have a great example of a narrative which was done by Bloomberg. So I'll just quickly show you that, which is a great one. So this one, it's showing the that what's really warming the world. So first of all, it is saying that this is the observed global warming. Now we want to know that why is it happening. So they are comparing this with the Earth's orbit. Is it happening because of Earth's orbit? But no, it is not. And then it is showing that it is happening. Is it happening because of the sun's temperature? And in the same way, they are comparing the global temperature with different parameters like volcanoes, and then they try to combine the things and then try to show which like natural factors are responsible. But no, deforestation is responsible. No, then is it the ozone pollution which is causing the, and no, it is not. So in this way, it's showing a lot of things. Aerosol pollution, or is it the greenhouse gases? So obviously it is the greenhouse gases. Greenhouse gases are warming up the atmosphere. So they are, what they are using is like we use the analytical approaches where we showed the contrast comparison, how we can show. They have used that and shown a very beautiful and good story. Like it is like is it going against our temperatures, but yeah, the way in which the visualization is shown is outstanding. So this is one example. So at the end, I would like to say that practice, because no one is perfect, and try to incorporate storytelling, try to communicate your dashboard in a good way to the stakeholders so that they can connect, and try to keep the agile methodology so that you can keep doing changes in the dashboard. And at the end, thank you everybody. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn or Twitter. I'm happy to talk to you, happy to help anytime. Thanks a lot to the Tableau Fringe Festival host for giving me this opportunity. Bye bye.